For my 40th birthday, my family wouldn't stop saying how this year would be unforgettable. My husband, Marcus, kept smiling whenever I brought it up, dropping vague hints about a surprise he'd been planning for months. "You won't believe what we've got in store," he'd say, kissing me on the forehead before disappearing into another secret errand. My daughter, Kira, 16 and usually glued to her phone, suddenly started being sweet again, randomly hugging me in the kitchen and saying things like, "Just wait, Mom. It's going to be amazing." Even Zach, my 18-year-old son who never remembers anything that's not on a screen, chimed in with things like, "Hope you're ready for the best birthday ever." I didn't ask for much. A quiet dinner, maybe a weekend trip. We're not rich, not even close. Marcus works IT support from home, and I teach middle school science. We manage, but most of our money goes to bills, the kids, and saving for college. We haven't done a real vacation in years. That's why, when all their secret of energy started buzzing around the house in the weeks leading up to my birthday, I let myself feel something I hadn't felt in a while, hope. Maybe they were really planning something just for me. Something I didn't have to cook, schedule, or coordinate. Just something for me. 2 days before my birthday, I came home to the smell of candles and the sound of whispering. I caught them mid-huddle in the living room, and Marcus jumped up like he'd been caught cheating. "Nothing," he blurted, too fast. "Just talking about, school stuff." I laughed, pretending I hadn't noticed the way Kira subtly nudged a wrapped box behind the couch with her foot. I didn't want to ruin their surprise. I wanted them to have this moment. I let myself dream, just a little, maybe a family dinner at that steakhouse downtown I'd mentioned a dozen times, maybe a spa day, maybe even just breakfast in bed and a full day where no one needed me for anything. The day before my birthday, Marcus told me he had a conference call all morning. So could I take the kids to school? It wasn't unusual, but it annoyed me a little. He knew I'd wanted a slow start. I brushed it off. After drop-off, I returned to a quiet house. No signs of planning. No clues. I didn't see bags packed or balloons hidden. Just a normal day. I cleaned up, taught my classes online, and waited. That night, Marcus acted odd. Distant but affectionate. He kissed me goodnight, told me he couldn't wait for tomorrow, then passed out the moment his head hit the pillow. I lay awake wondering what big thing was coming. The morning of my birthday, I woke up to an empty bed. Not unusual, Marcus was an early riser, but the house was too quiet. No coffee brewed. No sounds from the kids' rooms. I figured maybe they were picking up cake or setting something up at a friend's place. I checked my phone. No texts. No missed calls. I called Marcus. Straight to voicemail. Called Zach. Same. Texted Kira. Nothing. At 8:17 a.m., I found a note on the fridge. "Happy birthday. Be back soon. Get ready to be amazed." No names. No clues. I smiled anyway, still wanting to believe. I got dressed, did my makeup, and waited. 9 a.m. 10 a.m. 11:43 a.m. I texted Marcus again. "Everything okay?" No reply. By 1:15 p.m., my optimism started to dim. I made myself a sandwich, trying to stay calm. Then, at 2:09 p.m., my friend Tasha texted me a screenshot. It was from Zach's Instagram story. They were all at an amusement park 2 hours away. Marcus, Zach, Kira, even Marcus's brother and his wife. Everyone smiling. Drenched from a water ride. Laughing. The caption read, "Family Day. She won't even miss us, LOL." I stared at the photo until it blurred. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just sat on the couch, frozen. The same couch Marcus and I had picked out together when we bought this house. The same one I'd nursed both our babies on. At 3:32 p.m., I poured a glass of the wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. I sat in the silence of our house and scrolled. More posts. More smiles. A dinner photo with everyone raising their glasses, captioned, "Best day ever." My birthday. The big surprise day. The day they promised would be unforgettable. It was. Just not the way I'd imagined. I opened Marcus's laptop. Yes, I knew his password. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for answers. Emails from the amusement park. Tickets purchased last week. Hotel confirmations. Group itinerary. Even a packing list Kira had emailed to her aunt. None of them mentioned me. No seats saved. No dinner reservation for 5. Just 4. I opened our bank account. A $3,200 charge to the hotel Marcus's family was staying at. 3 days. 1 suite. He hadn't even used a separate card. By 6 p.m., I stopped crying. I stopped feeling too. Instead, I opened a fresh document on my laptop and started typing. Everything I'd found. Screenshots, transaction history, social posts, timeline. I printed them, put them in a folder, labeled it receipts. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I wasn't going to let this get buried. They were still at the hotel that night. I could see it all on Instagram. They hadn't even thought to turn off location tracking. No messages, no calls, no apologies. Just endless photos of family fun. I slept in the guest room that night. Not because I had to, because I wanted the bed to myself. And because Marcus's side smelled like chlorine and betrayal. At 6:12 a.m. the next morning, I was already awake, staring at the ceiling of the guest room, wondering what I'd done to become a footnote in my own life. I thought back to the first time Marcus and I had slept in this house. The way he'd said it felt like the beginning of something permanent. Back then, he used to scribble notes and tuck them in my lunch. Now he couldn't be bothered to remember my birthday. I checked my phone. Still no texts, no missed calls. My birthday had come and gone, and not a single person had acknowledged it directly. The only message on my screen was from Tasha again. You okay? That post is still up. Want me to say something? I replied. No, not yet. That afternoon, I took the folder labeled receipts and placed it into the safe we kept under the stairs, the one where we usually kept passports and tax documents. Then I logged into our shared cloud account, something Marcus had set up years ago and probably forgot I still had access to. I backed up every email, every PDF, every screenshot. Then I changed the password. At 9 a.m. sharp, I called our credit union and removed Marcus as an authorized user on my personal account. We'd always shared everything, joint cards, joint passwords, joint responsibilities. But apparently, sharing didn't mean the same thing to both of us. Around 11:42 a.m., while making a grocery list for just myself for the first time in over a decade, a knock came at the front door. I opened it to find my neighbor, Ruthie, standing there holding a casserole dish and looking like she'd stepped into the middle of a funeral. I saw the post, she said. I assumed you were with them until I saw your car yesterday. I forced a smile. Not this time. Her face twisted into something that hovered between pity and fury. That's disgusting. On your birthday. I nodded. She handed me the casserole without another word. As she turned to leave, she said, You're not invisible, you know. That stuck with me. It kept echoing in my head all afternoon. You're not invisible. I whispered it to myself later that night while I took the laundry out of the dryer. While I fixed the leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom. While I cleaned the hair out of the shower drain, someone else's hair. I wasn't invisible. They'd just chosen not to see me. By the time night fell, I'd made another decision. I was done waiting for them to remember I existed. The first unexpected twist happened the next morning. My phone buzzed with a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in 10 years. Nathaniel. We used to work together. We were both teachers at the same middle school before he left for a higher-paying job out west. Smart, kind, always a little too charming for his own good. We had once been dangerously close to something that might have ruined both our marriages. But we never crossed that line. At the time, I thought keeping the line intact made me noble. He'd found me on Facebook, apparently, and sent a simple message. Hey, I know it's been a while. I saw your name pop up and thought of you. Hope everything's okay. My heart stuttered. Not because I still had feelings for him. I didn't. At least, not the romantic kind. But because, in that moment, someone saw me. Really saw me. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I clicked on his profile. He lived in Denver now. Divorced. 2 daughters. His most recent post was about planting a garden. There was a photo of him with dirt under his fingernails, grinning. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I didn't want to start anything. I didn't even know what I wanted. But I wanted something. Something that wasn't silence. I messaged him back. Thanks for checking in. It's complicated, but I appreciate it. Later that day, Marcus finally texted. A single message. Surprise went sideways. Talk when we get back. I stared at it. No, happy birthday. No apology. No recognition. Just damage control. I didn't reply. Instead, I posted my own story. It was just a photo of the casserole Ruthie had brought me, sitting next to a glass of wine and a lit candle. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. By 10 p.m., Kira sent a flurry of texts. Mom? You okay? Why didn't you come? Dad said you'd meet us later. That one made me laugh out loud. Meet them later? Like I was some add-on to the real party? I didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I I turned on my porch light and installed the new security camera I'd ordered the day before. At midnight, Nathaniel messaged again. If you ever need to talk, you know where I am. I didn't respond, but I saved the message. I fell asleep that night without crying. That was new. They came home 2 days later. I knew their ETA not from any call or message, but because Marcus posted a blurry shot of the sunrise over the interstate with the caption, "Homebound." Great memories made. I watched the clock with a strange calm, folding laundry in the den, vacuuming the living room, moving through the house like a ghost in my own story. I'd already reset the Wi-Fi password, disconnected Marcus's login from all the smart devices, and packed a small box of his things, essentials, nothing dramatic. It waited for him on the guest bed, right beside the note I'd left in the kitchen. You'll be sleeping in here for now. We'll talk when I'm ready. When their car pulled up the driveway around 3:30 p.m., I didn't rush to greet them. I watched through the slit in the curtains as Kira hopped out first, tugging her roller bag behind her. Marcus stepped out a second later, stretching dramatically like a man who'd done something noble. Zach trailed behind them, sunglasses on, earbuds in. I didn't unlock the door. I waited for them to ring the bell. It took a full 30 seconds before they did. When I opened it, the smile died on Marcus's face. "Hey," he said, trying for casual. "We're back." I stepped aside without saying a word. They filed in, all suddenly quiet, sensing something wasn't right but still clinging to the belief they could explain it away. Marcus spotted the box on the guest bed almost immediately. "What's this?" "You can read," I said. "Come on, Mia," he said, using my name like it might soften me. It was supposed to be a surprise. "We just wanted to give you a day to yourself, then hit you with something special." "You gave me silence," I said, finally looking him in the eye. "And a digital scrapbook of my family celebrating without me." Kira hovered in the doorway, wide-eyed. Zach, still pretending nothing mattered, wandered into the kitchen and immediately noticed the missing security code on the fridge tablet. Did you reset this?" "Yes." "Why?" "You know why." I turned back to Marcus. "Do you want to know how I found out where you were?" He shrugged. "You probably saw something online, I guess. The kids posted too early. That's on me." I walked over to the drawer where I'd kept the folder, took it out, opened it slowly, and laid each page on the counter one at a time. Photos, statements, confirmation emails, timelines. Kira looked horrified. Zach still said nothing. "This was not a surprise," I said. "This was a plan. Made without me. Funded by me." Marcus's jaw tensed. "You're being overdramatic. It was just a few days. We were going to come back and I cut him off. "Say happy birthday? Give me a card? Pretend it was all part of some master plan?" I read the emails. Saw the messages. "You weren't coming back with a surprise. You were just hoping I wouldn't notice." "I didn't think you'd take it like this," he muttered. "That's the point," I said. "You didn't think about me at all." Kira finally spoke. Her voice trembled. "I didn't know, Mom. I really thought we were coming back to throw you a party." I turned to her, and for the first time, softened slightly. "You're 16. That excuse barely works. But I believe you didn't know everything." Marcus stepped forward. "What do you want me to do? Beg? Apologize?" "I didn't mean for it to go this way. The whole thing got away from me." "No," I said. "You made choices. You all did." I pointed to the couch. "Sit. We're having a meeting." They obeyed. Even Zach. "I'm not filing for divorce," I said. "Yet. But things are changing." I handed Marcus a separate folder with the new budget. "This is what you'll contribute from now on. This house isn't running on autopilot anymore. You'll have your own account. I'll have mine. We split the mortgage. Groceries. Utilities." He opened the folder, blinking at the numbers. I turned to the kids. "No more fun money unless it's earned. No more surprise charges to my cards. Kira, your phone line now runs through a new plan. You'll pay half. Zach, your car insurance? You're covering it next billing cycle." Zach frowned. "Are you serious?" "As a heart attack." Then I dropped something I hadn't planned on until the night before. "The only reason I even knew something was wrong, besides your carelessness, was because someone from my past reached out. Someone who used to work with me. Asked if I was okay." Marcus stiffened. "What do you mean, someone from your past?" I let the silence stretch. "Does it matter?" I asked, knowing it absolutely did. Kira shifted uncomfortably. Zach stared hard at the wall. "I'm not saying this to start anything," I continued. "I'm saying this because, for the first time in years, someone saw me. Asked how I was. You should have been that person." Marcus didn't respond. His face was unreadable, but his silence said more than any defense he could have offered. I stood up. You all need to think hard about how we got here. About how easy it was to pretend I wouldn't mind being left out of my own birthday. About how casual it was to erase me from your idea of a family vacation. I turned to Marcus one last time. You're staying in the guest room until further notice. If you need anything, knock. Don't assume. With that, I walked upstairs. Later that night, I got another message from Nathaniel. Still here if you need to talk. I didn't answer. But I didn't delete it either. The house fell into a rhythm of uneasy silence. Days passed. Marcus moved quietly, like a tenant afraid of waking the landlord. Kira stayed in her room more than usual, and Zach disappeared for hours without explanation, his absence somehow louder than his presence ever was. The only real communication came in the form of sticky notes on the fridge and stiff one-sentence texts about groceries or bills. I didn't mind the silence. I preferred it to the sound of forced apologies or flimsy excuses. One evening, I came home from work to find Marcus at the dining table, the box of receipts in front of him. He looked up when I walked in, but he didn't say anything. You want something? I asked, not unkindly, but firmly. I was just looking, he replied. I didn't realize how much you handled, how much you paid for. I shrugged. Now you do. He nodded and, to his credit, didn't try to argue or soften it. That was the first real crack in his wall of denial. It wasn't until Friday that the second twist hit. Not a whisper of betrayal this time, but a howl of consequence. It started with a phone call from the school district office. I was sitting at my desk at work, grading lab reports, when my cell phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Forrester? The voice asked, clipped and formal. We're calling to confirm your involvement in the review process for the recent incident involving Mr. Marcus Forrester. I froze. I'm sorry. What incident? The woman on the line paused. I assumed you'd been informed. Your husband was part of a pilot IT integration program at West Glen Elementary. Yes? He was. Well, there's been a formal complaint. What kind of complaint? Improper use of district equipment. Personal use of work hours. Allegedly accessing private accounts that weren't related to his assignment. My stomach sank. Ma'am, she added, softer now. I'd suggest speaking to him directly. But we'll be conducting a formal inquiry next week. After I hung up, I sat there for 5 whole minutes, trying to fit the pieces together. What had he been doing on work time? What was he accessing? I didn't confront him that night. I waited. Instead, I checked the logs on our shared devices, the ones Marcus hadn't logged out of yet. And I found it. A second cloud account. One I hadn't known about. It wasn't just a mirror of his personal emails. It was a vault, full of messages, spreadsheets, conversations with his brother, links to private social chats, some of which included candid complaints about me, others full of jokes about how Mia will never know, or she thinks she's in charge now. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was discovering that a week before my birthday, Marcus had filed a request with his company to block my access to our shared health savings account. Quietly, digitally, without saying a word. He'd signed a form stating it was a temporary measure during separation proceedings. We weren't separating. At least, we weren't then. The betrayal tasted different this time. Not like abandonment. Not like being left out of a vacation. This was premeditated. Quiet financial sabotage. I sat on the floor of the laundry room with my laptop and shook with something I hadn't let myself feel since the beginning of this whole thing. Rage. Not cold, calculating clarity. Not disappointment. Hot, blistering rage. And beneath it, resolve. That night, I waited until the kids had gone to their rooms and the house had that hollow, late-hour hush. I walked to the guest room, knocked once, then opened the door. Marcus sat up like a startled dog. Hey, everything okay? No, I said. It's not. I tossed the printed emails onto the bed. He looked down at them, and his face changed color slowly, from pink to pale. You were planning to cut me off, I said. Even before you left. You submitted that form a week before my birthday. His mouth opened, but I raised a hand. Don't lie. I saw the file logs. The second cloud. All of it. He rubbed his forehead. It was just in case. I didn't know how you'd react to the trip. I didn't want things to spiral. You didn't want to lose control, I snapped. You wanted the option to shut me out if I got too loud. He didn't deny it. I told the district office I'd let them speak to you directly, I said. But they'll find what I found. And you'll have to explain it without me shielding you. His shoulders sagged. You're going to ruin me. No, I said. You ruined this yourself. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there until he realized I wasn't going to argue. Then I turned and walked out. The next morning, I packed another box of his things. Not essentials this time. Just everything else. I left it in the garage. At 10:07 a.m., he texted me from the other room. "I'll be out by Monday." I didn't reply. That same afternoon, I got a package delivered. Inside was a hardcover book titled, How to Start Over at Any Age. No sender. No note. Just the book. When I flipped it open, I found a post-it on the title page. "You're not invisible." And Marcus left quietly on a gray-skied Monday morning. I didn't watch him go. I didn't peek through the blinds or hover by the door. I just stood at the kitchen sink, hands in soapy water, listening for the soft click of the front door closing one last time behind him. No note. No grand goodbye. Just a low rumble of a rolling suitcase across concrete and then silence. It wasn't freedom, not yet. But it was a start. The house felt emptier and heavier. I had to relearn things. How to sleep without bracing for his weight beside me. How to make dinner without automatically portioning for four. How to fill the hours once spent being a background character in someone else's story. Zach barely spoke to me at first. He sulked around the house, resentful of the new rules, the removed privileges, the adult responsibilities suddenly pressing against his freedom. But I held firm. No more auto-refilled gas cards. No more guilt-tripped grocery runs. No more pretending I owed him something simply for being mine. 3 weeks after Marcus moved out, Zach knocked on my door after midnight. I was half asleep, the kind of sleep where your mind is still ticking. I opened it to find him standing there with wet eyes and his old phone charger in his hand. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said. Just that. Quiet and sincere. I let him come in. We didn't say much, but he sat on the edge of the bed, and I listened while he told me about the credit card debt he'd racked up trying to impress friends he didn't even talk to anymore. About how he'd spent his last bit of savings on a concert ticket he no longer had the desire to use. How he didn't know how to fix things. "You start by facing them," I said. "And then you keep showing up." He nodded. After that, he changed. Slowly. Started asking me how to cook simple meals. Left his room without being told. Helped me clean the garage without being asked. He still had a long way to go, but he was walking towards something real now. Maybe even toward me. Kira was softer from the start. She never defended what they did. She cried, of course, more than once. But she didn't make excuses. She started writing notes, apology letters, journal entries she left on my pillow. Sometimes with doodles, sometimes with pressed flowers from our garden between the pages. She was still a teenager, still moody and quick to roll her eyes. But there was a gentleness returning to her I hadn't seen in years. As for Marcus, he reached out once, an email with no subject line and a single sentence inside. "Do you think there's still a version of us worth saving?" I stared at that sentence for a long time. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I finally did. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to myself, then deleted his original message. I wanted a copy, not a conversation. Nathaniel and I eventually did talk. Nothing scandalous. Just long messages exchanged like driftwood across a wide emotional sea. We spoke about teaching, about what it's like to raise kids who start out loving you like a sun and grow into moons orbiting other things. We never talked about us, because there wasn't one. Not in that way. But there was something comforting in being understood without having to justify your entire existence. One Saturday, he wrote, "I don't think we ever needed to fall in love to know we mattered to each other. Maybe that's the rarest thing of all." He was right. Eventually, I stopped keeping the folder of receipts in the safe. I moved it to the bookshelf under F for finished. Not forgiveness, not forgetfulness. Just finished. I didn't need to revisit it anymore. I didn't need to prove I'd been wronged. I knew. And more importantly, I'd survived it. My birthday came and went again the next year. I spent it alone, deliberately, joyfully. I went to the botanical garden, had lunch at a little cafe, bought myself a ridiculous hat I would never have worn before. I walked around with no schedule, no obligations, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath. That evening, Kira baked me a crooked cake with too much frosting. Zach brought over Chinese takeout. We watched an old movie none of us really liked and made fun of it anyway. They stayed until midnight, and as they were leaving, Kira turned around in the doorway and said, "This year was better, right?" I nodded. Much better. After they left, I stood in the quiet kitchen with the scent of vanilla still hanging in the air and the soft echo of laughter in my ears. I wasn't invisible anymore. Not to them. Not to myself. Not even to the future I once thought had passed me by. The house still creaked at night. Bills still came in. The hurt hadn't disappeared entirely. But there was space now. Space to breathe, to rebuild, to rediscover. Not all stories end with reconciliation. Not all losses are tragedies. Some are openings. And for the first time in years, I stepped fully into mine. Alone, but not lonely. There's a difference.